Hi, this is Professor Beth Reese, and this is part one of the lecture on Charles Dickens' childhood trauma and its influence on Oliver Twist. It's important to know about Dickens' childhood in order to understand how and why he created the story of Oliver Twist. In 1824, 12-year-old Charley Dickens was put to work at Warren's blacking factory in London, pasting labels on bottles of blacking, which was used to polish shoes and boots. His family was in bad financial circumstances, and Charles had already been taken out of school, and his family had moved from the lovely seaside town of Chatham to the dirty, crowded city of London. Soon afterwards, his father, John Dickens, was arrested and imprisoned for debt. John Dickens was sent to the Marshalsea Prison, and the way the system worked at this time was that his wife and smaller children were allowed to live with him in prison. He could come and go during the day, though, of course, John Dickens could not. Charles, though, was sent to live with a woman named Mrs. Roylance, who boarded child workers and did not treat him with any particular affection. He shared a room with two other boys, but was basically left to fend for himself, and he often spent hours roaming the streets of the city by himself. Dickens was completely traumatized by the effective abandonment of his family, as well as the experience of working in the factory. Warren's factory was next to the Thames River. It was described as a crazy tumble-down house with rotting floors and a basement full of rats, where he worked next to rough working-class boys and men. He worked 10 hours each day, 6 days each week, and was paid 6 shillings per week for his work. The other workers were kind to him. They named him the young gentleman, and an older boy named Bob Fagin made a point of looking after him. Nonetheless, Dickens was in agony. He was an intelligent, delicate, highly sensitive child, small for his age and prone to illness, who loved reading books, and these new circumstances were agonizing to him. Later, Charles Dickens told his biographer John Forster, quote, "No words can express the secret agony of my soul as I sank into this companionship, the sense I had of being utterly neglected and hopeless, of the shame I felt in my position. My whole nature was penetrated with grief and humiliation." What made this experience even more traumatic was that several months later, after his grandmother died and his uncle repaid his family's debt and his father was released from prison, his parents deliberately left him in the blacking factory instead of rescuing him. In particular, his mother wanted him to stay. Dickens told his biographer, quote, "I never afterwards forgot, I never shall forget, that my mother was warned for my being sent back to the factory." But finally, after about a year of working there, his father declared that he needed to return to school, and he was enrolled at the Wellington House Academy. His parents never, ever referred to his year spent in the blacking factory again. For them and for the family, it was as if it had never happened. For Charles Dickens, though, it was the most important event of his entire childhood. Dickens felt incredibly sorry for his child's self. He never let go of that. And at the beginning of his writing career, he found a way to dramatize this self-pity by creating the character of young Oliver Twist, who was also abandoned, treated badly, the victim of a cruel society. Oliver is also kind, likable, attractive, intelligent, if not street smart. He is an idealized child. Dickens wanted readers to empathize and sympathize with Oliver Twist, and vicariously with him, an idealized version of himself. As you will read, a mysterious family member turns out to be plotting to ruin Oliver's life and totally degrading him, just as Dickens' own parents were responsible for his degradation. Bob Fagin had been Charles Dickens' friend, but he had also introduced him to the other warehouse boys and helped him to get comfortable there. In Oliver Twist, Dickens borrows his former friend's name, Fagin, but applies it to a leering devil of a character who introduces Oliver to boy thieves and young prostitutes. While Dickens may have appreciated Bob Fagin's friendship, on another level he clearly resented being dragged down to a lower class level through his association with them.